Kennedy Carter's behavior is not indicative of the entire league. We are still talking about competition where you are allowed to get a little extra elbow in if you are competing and you do it within the parameters of the game. The game is physical. Caitlin is helping to grow the league. These women understand that, but she cannot be babied as a rookie. That's all I'm at.
All right.
Who talks about the WNBA? Who talks about women? Who talk about women's sports more than First Take?
Stephen A., respectfully, with your platform, you could have been doing this 3 years ago if you wanted to.
Wow.
All right, we got to go. You guys.
So did you say
you're my guy, but
who does more than
Stephen
us?
I'm talking to you.
Wow.
Don't do that. I'm talking to you about the power that you have.
Okay.
I'm talking to you.
And so here we go again, back with another one. Welcome back to the Dark Times channel. And so let's go ahead and dive right in. Things got a little bit heated today. Things got a little bit testy today between Stephen A. Smith, Shannon Sharpe, and Monica Mcnutt.
Who does more than
Stephen
us?
I'm talking to you.
Wow.
Don't do that. I'm talking to you about the power that you have.
Okay.
I'm talking to you.
And so shout out to Monica Mcnutt for trying to keep her composure together, because you can tell she's visibly frustrated in this segment. And this segment is about 40 minutes long on ESPN, and which, by the way, ESPN took it off because it wasn't a good look. Definitely wasn't a good look to have Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharpe ganging up an ex-professional player, giving her take and her opinion about this whole situation with Caitlin Clark.
Not like the tweet, but again, we can't act like the premise of the league is not competition. Kennedy Carter, maybe she falls into that category of folks that are hating on Caitlin Clark that everybody's talking about. But Kennedy Carter does not represent the league at large. And that is where this conversation is really frustrating me, because the league and other players in the league who compete at a high level and are great women in sports and have sportsmanship, they want to see this league continue to grow.
Monica, I'm going to disagree with you. I agree that this was not a basketball play.
Oh my.
I agree that I don't know a whole lot about the young lady that committed the act, but do you actually think people are going to continuously watch if they allow cheap shots to continuously happen on Caitlin Clark?
Am I answering, or is this part of the soliloquy?
Because a lot of Johnny-come-latelys are making this whole situation with Caitlin Clark and her being targeted out to be more than what it is, because she's not being targeted. She's being treated like everybody else. And that seems to be a problem with a lot of people within media, and especially so-called black men within media, putting on the cape.
Cheap shots to continuously happen on Caitlin Clark?
Am I answering, or is this part of the soliloquy?
No, I'm asking. I mean, you can say it's a sequential, but I'm gonna tell you what's go ahead. Yeah.
So to answer your question, besides this play, which was a non-basketball play, y'all gotta give me another play that was truly non-basketball. Now, could there be a little extra sauce within a basketball play? I'll give you that.
Yeah. That's all I'm saying. But let me ask you again,
Okay.
Do you believe people will continuously watch if they continuously allow these hard fouls, even if they're basketball plays? And I get it. Monica, I agree. I agree that maybe some of the women in the WNBA are tired of hearing Caitlin Clark when she hasn't accomplished anything in the WNBA. They want you to earn your merit. Stephen A., you and I have had this conversation that when you come into the league, whatever title you come with, we want to see why you got that title. Be it a Thorpe Award, a Bernarski Award, a Heisman Trophy, we want to see. But I'm not going to take a cheap shot on you just to see if you're tough.
Shannon Sharpe knows what's going on. They talked about it earlier in this segment. The reason why Caitlin Clark got a little get back is because on that previous play, on the previous time down the court, Caitlin Clark was the one throwing elbows, throwing cheap shots. And that's what happens within sports. There's always a little get back, and usually the person that retaliates is the one that gets caught. Shannon Sharpe knows that. He's been in the NFL. He knows how it works. The person that retaliates is always the one that gets caught. And we get it. We got the message. Caitlin Clark is the cash cow. Nobody's disputing that. Everybody's happy about that. But at the same time, these women still got to lace them up, and they still got to play the game that they've been playing before Caitlin Clark showed up. They still got to play their same way. And to my knowledge, the woman that got a little get back on Caitlin Clark, you know, she's known for this. She's known for a no-nonsense approach. She's not trying to be friends between those lines. She gets it in, and she lets anybody have it. So Caitlin Clark is not special in that way. And she's certainly not special enough to be able to throw an elbow on this type of individual and think there's not going to be a little get back. So what do they want? What do people really want? What are they really asking for when it comes to Caitlin Clark? What they really want, and nobody's saying, make her be great like they did in college. Do what you got to do to make sure that Caitlin Clark succeeds. Because if Caitlin Clark doesn't succeed, if she can't cut it in the WNBA, then we're not going to watch. And I'm sorry, these women, they're professional athletes. They can't do that. They won't do that. You got to earn it in every single way that we had to earn it.
You want to jaw with me, I'll jaw back at you. But when you take a cheap shot, I believe you step over the line. Now, she said she wasn't going to address anything, Monica, about Caitlin Clark. Well, if you weren't going to address anything in the media session, keep your mouth shut on social media.
I agree with you on that.
And so a lot of people are making a deal about how Kennedy Carter chose to handle the media after the game by not answering any questions pertaining to Caitlin Clark. And I think that was the right thing to do. I think that was a decision that was probably made by the coach, and that was a smart one, because oftentimes right after the incident or right after something like that happens, especially following a game, the last thing you want to do is talk about it, because you wind up saying things that you probably shouldn't say.
I ain't answering no Caitlin Clark questions.
Did she say anything?
I don't know what she said.
What'd you say to her?
I didn't say anything.
That's enough. We're good. She's good.
And we know everybody is highly sensitive when it comes to Caitlin Clark. So I believe that was probably the best thing that that coach could have done. But as it turns out, she wound up saying how she really feels and how a lot of people within the WNBA feel about Caitlin Clark. She's not really that good.
Excuse me, Kennedy Carter did respond later in the day on Instagram Threads by saying, besides three-point shooting, what does she bring to the table? Followed by a laughing emoji. So that's all the things that were said.
And I know it almost sounds blasphemous to say, because she was so outstanding in college. But this is how it goes. Oftentimes, those college skills don't necessarily transfer over to the WNBA or to the next level, whatever level that is. At all the different women that got drafted, 10 or 12 women that actually only wind up sticking around with a WNBA team, the rest got cut. And these are the best players that college has to offer. So what that lets you know, there's a big gap. There's a big difference between amateur sports and professional sports. And a lot of Caitlin Clark fanatics can't deal with reality. Now, I'm not saying that Caitlin Clark won't turn herself into a solid WNBA player, but as of right now, all she offers is three-point shooting and passing. And she's not even being consistent with her three-point shooting. I believe she's averaging around 29% for the season on three-point shooting. That's not good. That's not good at all, especially when that's your only skill set other than passing. You're the worst defender on the team. The analytics back it up. You were the worst defender in college. The analytics backed it up. And so if you're not shooting the ball, you're not knocking down shots, what else do you bring to the table? At best, right now, she's a specialist. If her name wasn't Caitlin Clark, and if her name was Shaniqua Jackson, she probably wouldn't even be in the WNBA right now. But to her credit, she built up that name. She earned that. She earned the right to be able to stick around and try to turn herself into a WNBA player. But as of right now, she's really not that good. She's not that good. She should be coming off the bench because they don't have enough defensive players on that floor to make up for her atrocious defense. She puts a lot of pressure on the rest of the team by her defense. I've never seen her get down in a proper defensive stance. I don't know if she has the athletic ability to be able to do so. And so like Kennedy said, besides three-point shooting, what else does she bring to the table? And just to play devil's advocate, what she brings to the table is white eyes. And white eyes matter. White eyes matter. I do agree on that. Because when it comes down to it, this is sports entertainment. And you want to entertain as many people as you can so you can make as much money as you can. So in that, I will agree. But from a player standpoint, they're going to call it like they see it.
Anybody else, yo, you see who the golden goose is. Don't hate on it. Don't resent it. Ride it and use it to your advantage to elevate your profile and your cachet. Don't resent it and hate on it. Use it.
I will offer this to you guys in the conversation. Is there jealousy?
Okay.
Probably. That's part of the human experience, right?
Probably,
but if
Monica.
We are
Probably, Monica.
What?
Probably,
Probably.
Monica.
Yeah, what y'all want to say?
You know it's definitely.
Say it. No, Monica. No, don't parse words, Monica.
Say it, Monica.
I know you got to go in those locker rooms.
Shannon's
I know
right.
you
Say
cool
it,
with
Monica.
those women. Say it.
God damn, Shannon Sharpe. I've never seen Shannon Sharpe or Stephen A. Smith go this hard for another WNBA player. All the different WNBA players, all the different faces that we've had in the WNBA, I've never seen them go this hard for a particular player. And I kind of expected this from Stephen A. Smith, but Shannon Sharpe is disappointing me just a little bit. Just a little bit. He's got the cape on just a little bit too hard for my taste. It's one thing to, be able to toe the company line, but this is overboard. This is overkill. This is on some other stuff. He's losing a few stripes on this one for me. And I like Shannon Sharpe. I like Stephen A. Smith too, for what it's worth. I just think that he's more so a company man than anybody else in the industry right now. And he's even on record saying that he wakes up every day, every morning, thinking on how he can please his bosses. Not on how he can please his God, but on how he can please his bosses. So that right there lets me know everything I need to know about a Stephen A. Smith. And I'm starting to think that Shannon Sharpe is pretty much on that same ship. As entertaining as he is and as likable as they are at times, it is what it is. They'll pretty much do anything that they're told to do or anything that'll make a buck to a certain extent. I think Shannon Sharpe, there's a line that he won't cross, but Stephen A. Smith, I think for the most part, anything goes. Anything goes. But I like the way that Monica Mcnutt came back on him.
Here's the part that I feel you're missing, Eminem. I believe that there's resentment towards Caitlin Clark. I believe that black players who have been balling and scratching and clawing to help build this league have a right to be somewhat resentful. Because you've been pounding the pavement all of these years, and this young lady comes into the league and is hailed as a savior. I'm not saying that they're wrong for feeling that level of resentment because of the work that they put in and the grind that they have been on. I'm just acknowledging its existence. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm saying it's perfectly justifiable. But we can't deny that it exists.
I gotta stop
That's
you.
all.
I gotta call Cap. I gotta stop you because the way that this conversation has gone, Stephen A., y'all are very much coming at it high, looking low, and saying that it is wrong. This is the first time, and maybe I've missed it, and I apologize if I missed it, but this is the first time that I feel like I've heard you handle this conversation this delicately, because the prevailing perception that has been put out by the media, a lot of times it's been men folk that haven't covered the league as long as we have, is that this is a problem, as opposed to acknowledging all the things that you just said, which require nuance and acknowledging competition. Who's been in the way? Who's in the way?
We've talked about the subject. We've talked about the subject matter before. But go ahead, Shannon.
Okay,
go
let's
ahead,
let Shannon go. Yeah.
But the question is, Monica, if they keep allowing these hard fouls to happen, even in the basketball context, will people continue to watch, given who Caitlin Clark is, and she is in the majority demographic? Or do you believe they will continue to keep those eyeballs? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay.
I do. She's going to get knocked down. She's going to get stronger. She's going to be a force in this league.
No, I'm not
She's
saying
going to go
get
back to the
knocked down.
3-point line. She's going to knock down a shot. What's up?
Look, the frustration, if I'm Asia Wilson, as confident she is, she had a deal with Nike, but she didn't have a signature shoe. Everybody can't be frustrated. I mean, y'all make it seem like everybody frustration. If I'm Asia Wilson with my accomplishments, but damn, everybody in the WNBA, even though they play longer, it doesn't warrant the consideration that Caitlin Clark is getting, Monica. You talk about blanket. You and Molly trying to make it a blanket.
No, Shannon,
I see the level of frustration. No.
Shannon, we're not saying everybody's frustrated. We're saying we could understand let's not make a monolith of all these women. We're saying we could understand where some might be. Some might not be. Everybody's different, what we're saying. We're just saying that both could be true. You could appreciate her, but there could be slight frustration. That's it.
If I'm hungry, Molly, if I'm asking for a plate, I don't give a damn who put it on my plate. I get a chance to eat. That's how you're supposed to look at it.
Shannon, you're a different person. Shannon,
now.
you're a grown man. You're a different person. You've been through a lot in your life. That's your mindset.
I've always felt that way.
And no, but I'm saying
I've always felt that way. Maybe it's my upbringing.
Shannon, that's your mindset, and I respect it, and that's why you've been so successful, and it's admirable. But not everyone might be there emotionally yet. Okay, that's all we're saying. They might not be as evolved as you. You know, these girls. Some people are younger.
Molly, I think you have nailed it in terms of some of the eloquence and the words that I couldn't necessarily find. But I also think, y'all, we have to be careful of trying to have this conversation and separate the opportunity to compete physically. That's all, Shannon. I hear what you're saying, and I'm telling you that there are more women and players in the WNBA that are like Beth. She cooking, they bring, to use your analogy, the plate getting better food on behalf of her. Great, bring it on. But we cannot have this conversation and not acknowledge competition and the emotions of competition. You said yourself, Shannon, if you was lining up against some paid linebacker, you trying to get it. Well, now you are poised, and at this point in your life, I'm talking about doing it within the confines of the game, and sometimes it goes a little left. That's part of the emotions of competing. We all agree that this play was unacceptable, but in general, this is still competition.
That's my biggest mistake. You're right, guys.
Shannon ain't gonna say it.
I look at other people as I see myself.
Shannon ain't.
Oh my God.
Go ahead,
Shannon ain't gonna say it, but I'm. Shannon ain't gonna say it, but I'm gonna say it. The word is resentment, and I'm talking about what I feel about this whole conversation. Nobody said all. Nobody painted the WNBA with a broad brush. We're talking about a young lady that has come into the sport and is contributing to the financial backbone of the WNBA, and simply imploring everybody to see the big picture and how it serves to benefit the whole. And because we brought that up, it's turned into a conversation with resentment, jealousy, whatever. I'm saying, the resentment is legit, but it's also justified if you've been in the league busting your tail to help uplift it, and then somebody comes along and before they play one game, you're labeling them the savior. A lot of people, a bunch of men would feel resentment towards that too. But we bring it up here, and all of a sudden we got to safeguard and couch every little syllable when we're talking about competition, and we're talking about the league, and we're talking about revenue and money and how everybody wants to get paid. What's the maximum salary in the WNBA, Eminem? Isn't that like $241,000 or something like that? Is that the
like
number?
$250.
250, right?
Yeah.
$250,000. These girls are stars. They're doing commercials now. They're gonna be making dollars upon dollars on Madison Avenue, and they deserve it. We're talking about them maximizing their great potential. And because we bring that up and talk about what potentially might get in their way, which we do to men all the time, now we got to sit up here and watch every syllable. I resent that, and I'll leave it at that.
All right, so let me. I know we got to go to break. Welcome to the world of being a woman, Stephen A., and how you have to dance about your word choice, and you have to please everybody and anybody as you navigate your being. We are talking about the world's greatest.
How about being a black man?
Being black.
Hold on 1 second.
Have you?
So this is what I'm saying to y'all, though, and I know we got to go to break, and we didn't necessarily go there, and maybe we should. There are so many layers in this conversation around the way that it's being discussed. No. And yes, Shannon, I know y'all are going to say and Stephen A., I know you just shared that you have talked about the WNBA on your program too. You guys may not have said everybody, but the prevailing sentiment for folks that are just joining the WNBA and following women's sports is unfair to the women of this league, to your point, who have laid the groundwork for Caitlin Clark to come in and now take it to the next level. That's all I'm saying in these conversations. Kennedy Carter's behavior is not indicative of the entire league. We are still talking about competition where you are allowed to get a little extra elbow in if you are competing and you do it within the parameters of the game. The game is physical. Caitlin is helping to grow the league. These women understand that, but she cannot be babied as a rookie. That's all I'm at.
All right.
Who talks about the WNBA? Who talks about women? Who talk about women's sports more than First Take?
Stephen A., respectfully, with your platform, you could have been doing this 3 years ago if you wanted to.
Wow.
All right, we gotta go. You guys.
So did you say
you're my guy, but
who does more than
Stephen
us?
I'm talking to you. Wow. Don't do that. I'm talking to you about the power that you have.
Okay.
I'm talking to you.
Okay.
And so, as I said earlier, shout out to Monica Mcnutt, because I really couldn't have put it any more eloquently than she put it. She said a lot, and she said pretty much everything. It's not about the WNBA hating on players and being jealous. Of course, you're going to have a level of jealousy. That goes without saying. That goes for any sport. That goes for any occupation. And so what are we saying? We're not allowing these women to be jealous? We're not allowing people to have the right to be jealous? If they want to be jealous, let them be jealous. What's that got to do with Caitlin Clark shooting 28% from the three-point line and not playing defense and setting a record for turning the ball over? What's that got to do with that? And the real reason I feel like this is probably getting a lot of play, this whole altercation, is to distract you from how bad Caitlin Clark has been. She's been atrocious on the defensive end, and then of course on the offensive end, she hasn't been as advertised. She's a shooter who can't shoot in the WNBA. And despite what people may think, I'm not a Caitlin Clark hater. I just called it like I see it. And Caitlin Clark is not my cup of tea as far as the basketball player is concerned. I will admit that. I am biased when it comes to basketball players. I like basketball players who play both sides of the floor. I'm not the biggest Stephen Curry fan. I'm not the biggest Luka fan. I'm not the biggest Nikola Jokic fan. And it's got nothing to do with the color of their skin. But it's neither here nor there. I think that's going to be a good spot to go ahead and close out. And definitely go ahead and chime in and join the conversation below. Let's keep it going. And as usual, peace and chaos.